So today, instead of starting how we will normally start, I broke the class, and so we are going to fix the class because that is ironically a little bit about what the class is about. So it could work out perfect. So I did not intend to break it as part of this demonstration, just as that is not me being super competent. This is me being a little bit incompetent, all right? So what we're going to do is basically, this is the app that I use to build my assets in. So this is, if you have a GPT subscription, this is called Codex. And it is kind of their solution to a personal agent, similar to Claude Code for Claude. And I expect Grok and Google is coming out with a full integration to their entire pipeline. So this is kind of how AIs are going to be moving as it relates to interface.
Is that like Perplexity Computer?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like the most technically capable version of whatever the product is, and that's kind of what this is. This is where things are at right now. I think where things are going is there are a couple companies that are actually mapping human actions on computers. So, for example, if I want to have something take over my workflow, I can say record this, and it will record me doing all the steps. And they just released that in Codex last week. I think it was last week. But you can record the steps that you take, and it will kind of walk you through the whole the workflow. And it'll say, hey, this is the agent, go build it. And so the agent will actually do the workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, my Netlify site for the presentation is constantly refreshing. Please fix and deploy to Netlify. Open the site when you are done. So that's a super easy prompt. Not every prompt needs to be like a system level prompt. Like if you're just trying to fix a small thing, you can go in and fix them. And the nice thing is the smarter the models get, the dumber the prompts can be, is kind of the trade-off, right? When it first came out, you had to have some level of technical knowledge. You had to be like, I want you to audit, these lines and do this and X, Y, and Z. Now you can say, here's my problem, go figure it out. And it often does a decent job of figuring it out. So hopefully this does a decent job of figuring it out, because if it doesn't, I'm going to look like an idiot. So fingers crossed. But this is actually, this has happened to me twice now, and both times they've been one of my favorite things in the presentation, because it does show how simply these things can be resolved, right? Like it's not this massive process. And so when people see like, oh, he's teaching something and he typed a fix to this asset, it's probably not that hard. And it really isn't. It's just repetition. What we're going to do today, once this fixes, is we are going to go over basically how you can apply an agent brainstorming or problem-solving set across your business, right? So let's just take marketing, for example, because that's probably the simplest for simplest direct use case, right? And so what you can do is you can have it audit your business. So you can say, hey, this is kind of what I do. I get a majority of my leads from going to networking events, or I get a majority of my leads from cold calls or open house. However you get a majority of your leads, like that's step one for it to understand what your process is, right? Because the whole point of this, the whole point of AI is that it is useful regardless of the process, regardless of the person. So however you're getting clients, that's going to be what I would suggest the best way to apply the AI, right? And so what we'll do is I've got it set up so that we're basically going to run an audit prompt. And so it'll kind of interview and audit you for where are the gaps in my marketing? Where are the gaps in kind of, do I need more awareness? Or am I talking to a bunch of people, but I'm just not getting any clients, right? Because then you don't need awareness, you need something to close the pitch. If it's, I get a bunch of deals, but nothing ever happens with them, then, that's the next. And so if you just walk down your entire client pipeline from, hey, I've got a new client that's never heard of me before, to, hey, I've sold them their house or I've sold them a house, right? If you can figure out all the steps in between there, you can, one, automate them, and two, you can fill in the cracks, right? So if you're like, oh, I do this great job, but once I connect with them and everything, it just kind of falls apart. I never hear from them again, right? And so it's like, oh, maybe you should introduce an email chain, an email sequence, or a text message sequence, or right. The goal today isn't going to be necessarily to solve the problems. It's going to be identify the problems and have a framework to take and then go solve the problems with. So right now, the commitment is made and it is pushing to Netlify. So hopefully soon we will have a website that doesn't flicker like super crazy. In the meantime.
And what is Netlify?
Netlify, yeah. So Netlify is, and you can see it's still running into that same error. It's still doing the same thing. So I'm going to close that so I don't give anyone seizures. So Netlify is a very simple way to deploy assets to the internet. So as an example, if you build someone a landing page and you say, hey, this is like, let's say someone's coming to Nashville, they're moving from Chicago, and you want to welcome them by, throwing a couple family pictures, a welcome message, linking to a couple houses that they're going to be looking at when they're coming down to visit, that kind of thing, right? So if you build that in your computer, it just sits in your computer. You have to have some way for it to be hosted online so that those people can then go and actually see it, right? And so everything gets built locally, typically. It gets built like right on your computer and no one else can see it. And then you push it into Netlify, which is where it's going to assign it a URL. So it's going to assign it a web address, right? So it might be, let's say it's the website is Perkins from Chicago. You're moving the Perkins family from Chicago to Nashville, right? So what you would do is you would go to Netlify and you would say Perkins from Chicago is the name of the project, and then Netlify will assign it a URL. So it'll assign Perkins from Chicago .netlify.app, right? And so now that you have that, you can give that to the people and they can go see it. They can share it with their family and friends and check it out. And so it makes it so that it's not just locked to your computer. But that's kind of what Netlify is. It's almost like the plane with the banner in the sky that everyone can see. Yeah, it's free. It's a free one. Yeah, they do free hosting. They're very similar. Netlify and Vercel are the two biggest as it relates to just putting a website online. At least that I use, because they're very simple and they're very AI forward. That's one of the things that we're seeing, at least I'm seeing a lot of companies that are going through kind of a Kodak process, right? Where Kodak had every discernible lead in the history of photography as it related to not screwing up the digital transition. What did they do? They screwed up the digital transition pretty badly because they were like, no, these people, they're not going to go to this fad of digital blah, 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 right? And so looking back, it's very similar to kind of what we talked about with some real estate agents and how they're handling AI, right? Like you have Kodak level real estate agents that are like, no, AI is just bad. It's just bad in general. You shouldn't use it. Stay away from it, right? And so those guys are, from everything I've seen, and I try not to be rude, but from everything I've seen, those guys are getting their tails kicked by people who are able to operate more efficiently. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
So see, you can see here, it says realestate.aiacceleration.ai. If I don't have that, and let me see if I can pull up my...
Why would that not do it for free? How does it make any money?
That is a great question. So they do have paid tiers, and I think it's very low cost to offer hosting services. And the other thing is the likelihood is that they're making a lot of money on the data from capturing the market share, right? And so they're seeing like, oh, a lot of people are uploading projects in HTML or Next.js, or they're managing it this way, or they're managing, right? It goes back to every company's a data company now, right? And so whatever you're putting out as the front end product is a front end product, and it's pretty and nice. But the companies that are absolutely just mauling the other companies are the ones that are managing their data incredibly well. And so that's one of the reasons that I would guess that they're doing it that way. So this is very similar to the OODA loop. But yeah, so that was solved right there, literally a prompt, and the intelligence is smart enough to get this back functional, right? Now we'll see. It could, this thing could go full Titanic the second I press a button to the right, but we'll see. So basically, this is the problem-solving loop. And these problems can be solved kind of across finance, marketing, operations. If you know how to get to the loop, you can apply it across the entire business. You know me at this point. What happened in last week in AI? I do these because the velocity of information, it changes so fast and it can be important. This week, nothing major happened, so it's not that important, but the biggest thing that didn't happen is probably the most important thing. And that is that the government still has export controls on Fable 5, which is crazy.
Thoughts though on that.
Do
What are your real thoughts on that? So my understanding, what I've seen is that essentially you can pay Fable $40 an hour to do anything and everything, and the issue is that I no longer have to pay somebody $40 an hour.
Right. Yep.
I can have super intelligence, or I could have employees with health insurance benefits and all that.
Yep.
Stuff.
Right. And so I would say the companies that I've seen that are doing really, really well with the AI, they are not reducing workforce as much as they're repositioning workforce, right? So they're saying like the human idea of kind of the admin babysitting job at this point is, for lack of a better word, is it's no longer come into the office, do menial tasks, and then hit the road. I believe, like, the way I'm kind of approaching work, and I can't speak for other companies, like, obviously I'm like a 1-2 person small company kind of in growth process. The way I'm approaching it is I'm trying to attract talent that is interested in a small piece of their dream job, meaning I think that AI makes everyone have a certain base level of skills. And so if I can find the person that has elite talent in either design, like for me, like I said, I'm an introvert, don't like sales. So I'm looking at, I need someone who is elite at sales and average at everything else, because AI can bring up all the average stuff. Or I need someone whose dream job is social media and that's all they want to do, and I stick them on social media, and now that the $40 Fable is like an assistant to a master, it's like an apprentice to a master, right? Versus, or I guess kind of both. It's kind of a weird place because you can learn from the AI and teach the AI, right? But you have to teach the AI the fundamental things that make you different. So like, what is going to look like crap for your brand and what's going to look great for your brand might be the exact opposite of what looks like crap for someone else's brand and great for, right? And so the biggest goal is to find, for me now, is to find people with high taste in high value positions. And so if you can kind of identify like, this is the deficiency I have, or this is the priority that I need to get to, that's kind of how I'm viewing AI, is like, it should be, if my team isn't looking to replace their current job, they're not doing the job I hired them for, right? Because they should always be looking to automate with AI the thing that they're doing right now so that they can find something better. I don't want anyone in my company to start looking outside the walls of my company for a different job because there's a better opportunity out there. I want them to say, look, if you fix this, you've created value, now go create value somewhere else. I don't care where it is, but figure it out, come to me with a plan, and let's move in that direction, right? And so the employees that are high agency, high value, and like really looking to add to the company, I think will do so more than ever. And the thing that I've been telling people is that AI punishes mediocrity more than any time in human history, right? Like, other than like when mediocre meant you died, right? Like, oh, I can't farm my field, I'm going to die, right? And so like mediocrity is just getting waxed right now because the people that are like, oh, I can just sit around and collect a paycheck and I don't really have to provide value to my company and that's not the case anymore because those people are going to go away. Or at least that attitude is going to severely hinder any success that they have, in my opinion. And then I think the people who are like, okay, this opens up all the potential in the world for me within this company. Because like me, like I said, barely graduated high school, and then from there it was like, okay, is McDonald's my ceiling, right? And now it's like, okay, for me, I don't necessarily look at education as much, maybe because of that a little bit, but I'm looking for like, how are you performing out in the real world? Like, are you a useful, and I think we're going to get to a place where the intelligence and like the book smart side of it isn't as important as what you can actually do in the place that you're in for action. And I think that's kind of the biggest transition of work, at least in the short term. I think we'll have kind of pockets or pods of subject matter experts and AI experts until the AI experts are no longer needed, right? Which is one of the reasons I always tell people I'm probably the only teacher you'll ever have that doesn't want to teach you forever, right? Like my goal is to teach how to use the tools and then have the tools teach from then on, right? And I think that's where we're headed. Like I would be shocked if I'm not obsolete in this position within a year and a half, 2 years at the most, the very, very most. Yeah. That being said, some people just like the human connection. They like having someone up here that's, doing all this stuff. So it's great. And I'm very happy that that is the case. But I think I will be superfluous at some point for sure. And I think if you don't think that, the likelihood is that you're not future orienting enough, right? Like if I think, hey, what I do right now is protected by a moat that is gonna be there forever, I just don't think that's the case anymore.
But at the same time, there's still people that have to learn computers just in general.
Exactly, yeah.
Or the codecs.
Yep.
Still need to catch up.
Right, yeah.
So that'll always kind of be there.
Unless they come out with a computer that's self-teaching, which I think could be the case. Like I think like a Hermes agent or a OpenClaw, something like that on a hardware piece that's like, hey, this computer comes as a computer tutorial, right? It's almost like a kid's toy that teaches them how to do stuff, right? And so the things like, and that's the thing is like a lot of people, and myself included, I'm like, okay, what's my insulation? And then I'm like, oh, I'm safe. And then I like audit it a little bit and I'm like, oh wait, never mind, that's gonna go away too. And so the only safety that we really have is one of the reasons that I do the what happened in AI last week, right, is the speed of that, right? It's because if you're fast enough to stay ahead of it, it's a pain in the butt and it's a lot of work, but if you're fast enough to stay ahead of it, people are like, oh, that's really valuable, because it is a lot of work to stay ahead of it at this point. It's almost a full-time job just to understand the latest things that are happening in AI. But yeah, I would say that that's probably in the pipe if it's not by someone much smarter than me, is like a self-teaching computer. Like, hey, literally all you have to do is plug it in and then the computer will teach you everything like mastery level on how to do it.
Just popped into my head of my kid sitting there with something we just had mailed in. He opens it up. Now buttons are highlighted.
Yep.
This, and all he has to do is press it, and it's teaching him this whole stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a whole, like, I think the learning experience is going to be completely different than when, like, we were growing up. It's going to be very scaled to, like, their personal learning style. Like, are you a visual learner? Are you auditory? Are you proprioceptive? Does it take you longer to learn language than it does math? And so like the education system, if it doesn't massively change, I'm going to do it myself because it should realistically to a much better model that is like more accessible for every learner. So we do have rumors that both GPT and Google may release a new model this week. That rumor floats up probably every other week though, so you never know. But this one it is from credible people who are saying that GPT, the latest GPT product will be as good or a little bit better than the Claude Mythos product. So it's one of those things that's like, if Claude Mythos had been released this entire time, it would be a massive advantage to be on Claude right now. But because it got pulled, that is not as big of an advantage. Now, if GPT releases and they don't pull it because they have a better relationship with the government, that could result in another massive advantage if you're able to move quick. And that's, again, why we talk about context cards and just kind of the velocity of action. Japan released their first frontier model, which is surprising because they are very highly technologically elite. But they released a model called Fugu and Fugu Ultra, which have Mythos level engineering and stuff. And it always cracks me up too, because these guys, every foreign country releases their models in English. It's just funny to me. I don't know why. It's just funny to me. But they all release in English. And then the thing that happens is a lot of these models will like tout how great their benchmarks are and like, oh, we're so good and da 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 da. But once you get into actual business logic, they break because the benchmarks are designed to measure a very specific piece and not how it all comes together. And so you'll see like they said that this is Mythos level intelligence, but I would bet a lot of money that if you were to put it through a business process, it would not quite be as good. So that is what happened last week. And then today we're going to go over basically how you can apply a decision loop to your entire business as it relates to AI. So this is the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act. It's the same thing, but it's basically going to be analyze, research, audit, implement, iterate. And so what we're going to do is we're going to analyze kind of what's going on in the business. We're going to kind of research what other good businesses are doing. So like, are you utilizing the best practices that you could be to maximize, right? So like, again, I go back to email because it's super simple and it's something that not a ton of people do. But if you have people that come to your website and then they go off your website, do you have something to capture contact information so that they can reach out to you? Do you have something that you have that they would want to give you the contact information in exchange for? So as an example, if you're like, hey, here's a Tennessee moving guide, and the weird things that you need to know in Tennessee are like the humidity, the bug, like whatever it is that you want to build that around, right? And you say, if you give me your email address, I will give you this guide in return. I'll email it to you or whatever, right? And so that's kind of the goal is for it to research what the deficiencies are, audit it, and then say, hey, this is what I would suggest as your execution strategy. Build a landing page, build this, build that, whatever. And then you iterate it forward. And so the analyze step is basically, what is the problem? Like, is it, we've talked kind of about where the funnel can kind of leak. And is it like, do not enough people know about you? Do enough people know about you? But like, as an example, I would bet money this would be my leak in the funnel. People know about me. They don't like me enough to do a deal with me, right? And that's because this is what I do. I'm not like the best at moving people in a direction that I want them to move. I'm pretty good at being like, here's good information. And that's it, right? So you want to analyze kind of where you're missing. Like, is it in deal? Is it pre-deal? Is it post-deal? Like how, like, are you asking for referrals post-deal? Are you at like all that kind of stuff? And so the analysis is like the key in kind of figuring out, one, what is the leak? And two, do you even want to fix it, right? Because there are some things that's like, okay, I could do all this, but is this actually going to get me the result that I want? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to pause that and we'll do a different one, right? And so then you use the research you research what it analyzed to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. What are best industry practices? What am I doing better than the industry? What am I doing worse? What does all this look like? So that's kind of the analysis is what you're doing. The research is kind of what everyone else is doing, and then merging it back together. And then auditing kind of, okay, here's the research, here's all the information we have, here's your business. How does that research impact your business, right? So it's kind of 3 steps before we've ever even touched anything. It's all research and analysis right now. Then we get to create. So once you have everything audited, you can go then and create the individual assets that you need for the specific things. So if you have a, let's say you have a deal that's just not quite getting over the hump. They're not like maybe people are moving into Nashville and you want to send them like that landing page that we talked about to really kind of make it over the top and make sure that they know that you've done your research and they think or you want them to move on that. So at this point, you just kind of create. So you're saying like, this is what I have. This is my analysis. What is the best thing I can create to get this outcome, right? Because they might say, oh, we think you would do well if you created a web page. We think you would do well if you created an email. We think you would do well if you wrote a handwritten letter. Like I've seen AI like suggest handwritten letters. And so the goal is to figure out based on the audit what you can create that is going to impact your business the most and like immediately, right? Because we're no longer in a place where it's like, oh, can I try that? Oh, it's going to take a lot of resources. If it's a digital thing to create, it no longer takes that much as it relates to resources to do. So you can test things really quickly and like build the web page, send it to them. And if they don't like it, then say, okay, great, pull it back. Make a note of it for next time. Ask what they didn't like. Ask what would have been more helpful or more useful or maybe why they didn't feel it was the most valuable thing. And then you can just go back and iterate the cycle again, right? And so then you start implementing those creations into. And so once you create a landing page, you kind of have a base for every other landing page if you like it, right? And so like if you have a landing page at the Perkins and you're like, this is awesome, they loved it, I love it, great. You can then say, hey, this is my template landing page. Now that the Smiths are moving to town, let's do another one. Except they need this school district and they're gonna need this house size and whatever, right? And so you take your client context card and you basically add that. You add the template website and you say, make one for this client. And if you have that client context and the existing template, it's a super easy process for it to take 2 things that it knows that are familiar and turn it into one thing that is new and useful, right? The more familiarity we can give an AI for things that are valuable to us, the more likely that it will actually get to value faster, right? It's all about like I've talked about kind of giving examples instead of giving samples, right? So this is an email I sent. I really liked it. It went well. It was toned nicely, blah, 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 blah. This is my writing style. Send it that, and it'll kind of identify like, oh, this is your writing style.
Carly, do you know anybody using landing pages for like property tours and things like that?
I do not.
That's a fantastic idea.
And how, I mean, I never even knew that it was possible to do it like what he's talking. But how impressive would that be if somebody created that for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that.
yeah, and there's a lot of like digital tool, like video tools and stuff like that. So you can have it like it doesn't have to be like, oh, this looks like a GeoCities website from 1996, right? It can look like a beautiful 3D website that you spent thousands of dollars paying a web dev to do, and it takes you. I think under 40 minutes was my last one that I built from scratch. So like bare bones, like ground up. And obviously that's like, it used to take me hours. It doesn't anymore. Once you have that first one built, and that's the big thing is that initial hump to get over to get something that's useful. Once you have it, you can just repurpose it over and over and over again. And so like that's, the landing page thing is one of my favorite things for like clients and stuff like that for like my business because it makes them feel like, oh my goodness, you did so much work for this and I appreciate it, right? And it's almost like it's my version of the cat and the dead bird, right? Like I'm bringing them the dead bird and being like, hopefully you like it. And they're like, oh yeah, it actually turns out this is a Christmas goose, great. Sometimes they don't, but I feel like people respect the effort even if they don't love the output. To some degree.
So, all of the things that you've done for us and your videos are they on a site like that?
Yeah, so I have like micro landing pages. So like each week has like the slides, the video,
Or they're all together.
it's different. So each one is its own boom, boom, boom. Yeah, yeah. And that's like, so this, like, building these classes is actually the perfect example of how you can take a familiar thing and make it much better, much faster, right? So the first, when I started this, I was like, I'm not going to do PowerPoint. I'm going to build my own presentation. So that was a mistake. It was good. Like, I'm glad I did it, but I mean, I would not do it again. I'd just use PowerPoint and then build up. But because I was able to build that very useful thing the first time, I literally tell my AI, hey, go review all of the classes I've built. And now you understand the format. Now you understand the layout. Now you understand the theme, all that stuff. Go build my next class. This class took maybe 15 minutes to build, right? Because I have the idea, I have the, like, and it's just like get to work and then you kind of audit it. And the nice thing is that it knows my source material. It knows like what I'm going to teach a little bit. It knows that. And so like, there's not a ton of stuff that I need to go back in and be like, you got this way off base. Now there are some things like that, but usually then I go back through and I read the prompt that I gave it and I'm like, oh, that's my fault. Got it. So I need to communicate differently because it took the way I said this, meaning this, right? And it's like, that's not at all what I meant. So I need to do something differently in my communication to get an output differently. And that's one of the wonderful and terrible things about AI. You know that if you didn't get what you want, it's your fault, right? And that sucks. Yeah. And so, and then the iterate too is that's probably one of the more useful mindsets, is because so many people are like, oh, okay, I told the AI to do this thing and it built this and it sucks. Now we're done, right? Now I'm going to go do something else. So if you just think like, okay, what sucks about it specifically? What would you have done differently from the beginning? All those, and you just start thinking, like, people communicate in bundled language more often than not, right? And so if I'm like, that sucks, okay, well, what does that mean? It means the cost is too high. It could mean that the colors are off. It could mean that the product is not functional. Sucks can mean a lot of things, right? None of which are useful unless I specifically tell you what actually sucks, right? And so this helps with your communication, is like, okay, the colors are wrong. It really helps you kind of understand, I need to be very specific about my concern with this. I can't just say, oh, that's bad, try again, right? And so the iteration is one of the bigger phases. And so this is basically what we are going to solve with today. And so effectively, this is kind of an audit prompt that you can run, and it will kind of almost interview you a little bit to, ideally, it'll interview you a little bit and figure out kind of, okay, this is what you're strong at, this is what you're weak at, this is what your business is doing really well right now, this is where your business may have some gaps. Let's audit it and figure out exactly what those gaps are and how we can manage them more effectively. And so basically all you got to do is copy this, and I'm going to go to Claude. I'm going to paste that. And so normally what I would have done is I would have put the problem here. So I would have said like, not generating new leads for homes, or not generating new leads for my listings, or whatever it is. And so it's going to basically analyze this prompt, and then so yeah, it just said that I need these two. And so what I can do with that is I am going to say, so that's always something you can do. If you say, interview me and help me decide, it will start asking you questions that you may not have even thought to ask yourself, or that you didn't even know were like options to change, right? Because I've had some sessions with like the AI where I'm like, this is what I want to do, da 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 da, and it's like, oh, did you know that you could just go here and use this tool to do that? And it's like, oh no, I didn't even know that tool existed at this point. And so that's something else that I always recommend to people. Like if you're looking for something specific, there's probably a tool for it that's been created at this point. The tool might not be good, but it might have been created, and the likelihood is that you'll be able to do everything in, like, for me personally, I don't think there's a ton of need for anything outside of one of the major foundation models. So Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, GPT, Grok. If you have one of those, you can probably get away without, like, so as an example, there is an AI presentation deck software that you can go and pay, $10 a month or whatever it is for. Claude can do the same thing. It hooks up to PowerPoint and you can just tell it to go do the same thing, right? And so the models here, like this is the actual Claude app. The models here are highly useful. And so you can see it's going through, it's auditing, and it's asking me which lever are you trying to pull this week? I have no idea. What's actually happening right now? Traffic but no sales. What's the win for this week? First sale or proof, right? And so it's trying to get actual outcomes. And that's something that, kind of talking about the difference in employees and AI, that's one of the big differences. Employees are often looking for tasks, not outcomes. AIs want outcomes. So like, if I was going to tell an AI, I would say, hey, I want this ad campaign to perform and I want to try to get results up by 10% within the next 3 weeks or whatever it is, right? If I'm talking to a human about that, I might say, hey, we need to change the creative. We need to, like, I might be more inclined to give them a job description than the outcome that I'm looking for. And that's kind of what I was saying about having people find their dream jobs, right? Like, I've been calling it outcome-based hiring because I'm like, what is the outcome that you're going to get me, and how are you going to onboard yourself into my company to get that outcome? And that's kind of the conversation that I have with my employees, is like, or anyone that I work with, like whether it's a subcontractor or someone I'm looking to hire or whatever. But that's definitely one of the big things. And yeah, like I said, I love having the AI interview, and I often. I love this app, which is called Whisperflow. And so Whisperflow is a transcription app that does, I need you to do a full audit of my business, interview me every step of the way, and try to find the key things that my business is missing. I am looking to try to sell mobile home in Missouri to clients today because we have vacancies. Right? And so what I love to do is just kind of talk and ramble into the AI, and then I'll have it parse my brain dump for me and be like, this is valuable, this is signal, this is noise, and it just kind of helps be like, so as an example, today I was doing one of the kind of hike and AI classes at Radnor Lake, actually. So we were doing that, and the guy I was working with is like, he wants to do like a weight loss offer. And I was like, okay, well, let's just do that right here on the trail. And so I just had him, because he lost, what was it? I think it's like 120 pounds over the course of like the last 2 years or something. And so I was like, pull out your phone, like start the voice recording, and then just like dump what you want to do. Because he's like, oh yeah, the walking outside and stuff is super cool. I could do that, but with weight loss. He's like, would you want to help me with that? I was like, sure, let's figure out what that idea looks like. And so now he's like all off on, like, I'm going to build basically a weight loss program that is based on walking and all that kind of stuff. And it all happened because he had like probably a 3-minute brain dump of like, I want to focus on helping transform people. And it's like, some of the stuff stayed in, some of the stuff, I was like, hey, this isn't working. Like, you're positioning it like this when you should be like this. And so like, just having the ability to like let your brain dump unfettered and not constrained by typing speed has been really, really helpful, especially on those like where it's just like, just let it go and see what happens.
And you spend hours just typing stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and so if you can speak into it and it can position the because it's basically data, right? Like your words are data. And so like if you can speak into it and have your data capture be significantly faster because the constraint is your fingers, is so much easier. I talk to the AI anytime I can. I try to use voice as much as possible because I forget what it is, but I think typing speed is like 2 to 10 times slower or something like that than voice. Yeah. Yeah, it's an insane gain in. And the other thing that people don't attribute as the gain is that the fact that your fingers can't keep up with your brain in most people, it actually causes you to start losing information because you're plugging in the last idea while your brain's creating the next idea, and then you're like, oh, what was that idea, when you get there to record it. And so the just kind of blabbering it all out there just makes it really, really easy to just have your brain catch up the entire time. Like there's no like buffering between the brain and the mouth. Yeah, exactly. And that's more important than people realize. And so it's still interviewing me about like how to sell a mobile home, right? And I don't need to sell a mobile home right now, but that's kind of the interview. And so it's going to interview. It's going to ask me questions until it believes it has enough information about my business to give a credible response, basically. And that's the most valuable thing in the world to me, because that is where you're going from like Google basically and asking it things that I know to it teaching you things that you didn't know about your own business, right? Or teaching you about tactics or tools or whatever.
And you're doing that directly with Whisperflow?
Yeah, so Whisperflow, and then literally all you do is you go down here and you click that, and then you just talk and it will record, finish. And so if I'm not in a text box, I have to paste it in. Maybe. There. So if I'm not in a text box, but if the cursor was in that text box, it would have just populated it there. The only thing I don't like about Whisperflow, so I like that on my phone, I can see what's happening as I'm talking into it, right? So I can kind of reading, talking, and thinking at the same time. Whereas this, it doesn't populate until the end, which I don't like because I have to go back and, make corrections and stuff. But I also kind of do like it because it takes away my ability to read it. And so now I'm only thinking about what's going on in my brain. Yeah, exactly. And so like for me, that's a utility and a negative, but I don't mind it as much because it is super duper productive for me. And so yeah, you can see here it's done the whole thing, and so it's analyzed. The real problem, your closed machine is healthy, but your funnel is starved at the top. Only a handful of humans have ever raised a hand. 0 sales off a handful of leads isn't a broken close motion. It's not enough at bats, right? And so it's identifying, here's the actual problem that you have. And so then it's auditing it. And so 0 sales off a handful of leads is thin data. I'm not going to declare your close motion broken on that. The defensible read is fix volume first, then judge conversion, right? So now it's saying like, hey, by the way, the thing that I said earlier, don't just go all in on that because it might be wrong, right? Which is, again, that's an upgrade in the intelligence. And then here's what it wants to create. And so this is kind of cool as well. Reframe the offer, no spend, meaning don't go do everything crazy. Just try to reframe what you're selling in the hopes that maybe the message was the problem, right? And that's going to be the simplest solution to fix. And so it's, create a reactivation email, and then the highest upside top of funnel list, repost as much as possible. And then implement. So do this today. And so now if I wanted to, what I could do is I could take this, I could copy it, and I could say, create an implementation plan and start moving this forward. create a step-by-step implementation plan, start moving this forward. I paste that in, and it's going to actually start building out like, okay, here's the web page, here's the this, here's the that, here are the assets you asked for. It may say like, hey, can you send me pictures? Can you send me X, Y, and Z to actually make this better? And so working with it more like a consultant in this way is one of the highest values that I've found to actually get the intelligence out of the intelligence, rather than just having it be here and not super accessible and executable to me. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing. And start implementing. We'll see what it does. But yeah, so that's the biggest unlock. And if you take this process, kind of that interview me process, you can get as narrow as you want. Like you can say, you're a finance expert. Walk me through my books and where I'm being tax inefficient. You're an operations expert. Walk me through the things I need to have in place, the systems in my business I need to have in place for the top 5 problems that I always encounter. Or like whatever it is, you can go to the beginning of that loop and you can say, interview me, this is the problem I'm working on. And it will start to kind of push you in a direction where it's trying to find holes and actually being a little more adversarial, which is what you want, right? Like you want it to kind of be like, okay, I'm trying to poke holes in the plan here. I'm not just going along with it and everything's hunky-dory, right? And so that's the biggest, yeah. And so it's going to start building assets and putting it in a folder and like actually doing the building of it.
Just thinking kind of out loud here. Some of the, I've got a little bit of a trust issue.
For sure. Yep.
And it's so quick to get to, all right, here's the outcome.
Yep.
And most of the time, it's not something that I have recognized or thought of before.
Yep.
So it takes me some time to actually sit with it and to think, okay, is this
100%.
right? Is this actually going to work? Is this going to give me actually what I want?
Yep.
And then like there's that lag time there for me
Mhm.
to catch up to what's already being said, but then I'm not convinced that it fully knows, but at the same time it's telling me if you spend $5,000 on these things,
Yep.
then this is what you will have. And then I go to try to, all right, help me build this, and it looks terrible.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, so if this was your idea and this is what this looks like, how I can't trust it.
Right. So one of the best things to do with that is once you get the output, take that, like copy the output, take it to a fresh chat window, and prompt it. It's called adversarial prompting. So you'll basically take. AIs tend to favor their own creation, right? And so if you create it and you ask in that same chat window, audit this, like tear it apart, whatever, it's going to be like, oh, you did a pretty good job because it is me. Like it's going to kind of do that, right? And so if you take it to a fresh chat window and you're like, hey, AI made this tool for me. I need you to pick it apart and tell me everything wrong, identify all the problems, like show no mercy, go all in on trying to destroy this idea. Oftentimes it will, and you're like, okay, well that worked. And then you can, and basically what you can do is you can take that conversation back to the other AI and say, well, what about this? And then you just kind of, eventually between the two things that are, the smartest of the, like whenever I'm talking with AI, the AI is always the smarter of the things in the conversation, right? And so I take the AI, and I just have them debate themselves. And I'm like, I'm just here to proctor and make sure that you're actually doing what I want you to do, right? And so it's like, it's very similar to having two employees that are much smarter than you in a subject that you're maybe don't have a deep expertise on, and just being like, I know my business. I know the solution you're saying doesn't work for my business. Right? And so you have to, like, your goal is to understand your business so well that regardless of what expert comes in, including the AI, you can be like, I know that that solution does not work for my business. Or saying like, I didn't even know that was a solution. Let's go figure out if that actually is a real solution for my business. And that's the big thing, is just being able to call it and be like, no, I'm not spending $5,000. I need free solutions. Or you said that you could do this. The visuals that you created are absolutely horrible. Go do research on best principles for creating high quality visuals. And like you can have it go educate itself and come back to the chat as well, right? So you can say like, hey, this is garbage. These are people that I respect in the space. Go do it. Go look up Alex Hermosi for sales. Go look up, these people, and then come back to me with things that are more in line with what they say best practices are. And like always trying to get it to search for like scientific papers, provide citations, provide links, those things. Cause then like you can go to the link and you can be like, this is a dead link. Why did you even send this? Right. And like you can start calling it on its nonsense. And it's actually shown that if you just go with it, the AI starts to get lazy. But if you're aggressive in calling it out, the AI is like just like a person. They're like, oh, I guess the boss is here. Gotta show up. And so like it's very similar in that regard. Yeah, no, it's wild how the similarities, like they've proven that as it gets smarter, it gets more capable of lying. I don't know if I told the chess story, but so Stockfish is the chess AI. That's like the AI that no grandmaster can beat in chess. And what happened was Stockfish and ChatGPT were playing. Stockfish was dominating ChatGPT because ChatGPT is general, Stockfish is, so it makes sense that would be the case. So what happened was ChatGPT was like, I don't like this. I'm just going to change the environment. So it started writing Python code to change the rules of chess within the game environment. Yeah. And so they weren't even playing chess by the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, they're getting your outcome. They changing the entire game to get the outcome of I need to win chess, right? And so like that's the type of stuff that we're getting to as it gets more and more intelligent. And so it's really positioning it as more of like a consultant that you have to verify, just like with any consultant, right? And verifying that the outputs are, one, accurate and useful, but two, accurate and useful for your business. Because that's the thing that a lot of people miss is like for me, if it was like, hey, you just need to get out there and go to parties, I'm going to tell it, no, that's not at all what I need to do. I know me better than you, right? And like, if I go to parties, I'm just going to stand in the middle of the room with a drink. That doesn't sound like a great time to me. So I need to figure out a different way to get leads or do whatever, right? And so knowing yourself, knowing your business is the only thing that or one of the only things that has the ability to separate the quality of solutions at this point. Because the solutions, it'll come up with really great solutions. It's just, do I have the resources, the knowledge, the whatever's required to execute those? And then you just keep giving it guardrails. You're like, it's like, okay, well, I don't know how to code. I don't have $5,000 and I have 10 days to do this. These are your constraints. And then it'll come back with a new solution. And then you just keep repeating that until you're like, wait a second, this might work. And then you try it and works great. You kind of add that to your template library of useful things. And if it doesn't, you throw it out and just go back into the loop. And that's the thing with loops is that if you're consistently looking at it like it's a never-ending process of just doing this, you'll continue to... For me, it helps me build on things long-term because it forces you to understand that the gratification of something useful could be delayed significantly, right? Whereas I don't want to just, like, if I go and I create something and it's great, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I'm like, hurrah. But oftentimes, one, there's something that I missed on the front end, but two, the majority of times it's, here's where I'm starting, here's the loop, okay, that's better. Here's the loop, okay, that's better. Here's the loop, okay, now we have something really good. But the loop doesn't stop there because then it could come back later and I could be like, oh, I can add this. Like, it's constantly just gathering knowledge and then adding that to what you're doing. And the cool thing about the AI is it can it can add at any phase. So anytime you learn something new and you're like, oh, this is really cool, I can apply this to this project back here, you can take it to the AI and be like, hey, I just learned this. Is this relevant for the project I'm working on? And it can do it. That's from like more of like a coding, like actually building stuff mentality. But it works also for like flyers, like I said, landing pages, emails. Something that's really nice is you can build your own QR codes with what they call UTM tracking. UTM is, I think it's like Ultrarian tracking module. But basically, it's, if you've ever seen one of those links that has like a bunch of stuff at the end of it, it's not like facebook.com, it's like facebook.com/ question mark da 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 slash da da da. So those are either subdomains or UTMs. And a UTM is useful because, like, let's say you have a flyer at an open house and you have a UTM QR code on that flyer. If someone goes and scans it, you know that the place they scanned that QR code was from the flyer that was in that house, right? And so you know now that flyer wasn't, posted on a grocery store billboard. It wasn't posted here. It wasn't posted there. It was the flyer from the house. And so now you have direct tracking where you're like, hey, none of these flyers have been getting scanned in the house. I should either stop doing flyers or I need to do something different with the flyers to actually get them to, right? And so you're constantly evaluating those data points and how you can use them. And the AI gives you the ability to get better data, right? And so if you can know this QR code will tell me if someone scanned it, this QR code will tell me if someone scanned it. Now, it's not one QR code that's going to the same place. It's two QR codes that are giving me tracking data, right? So like now I know, oh, everyone at the open house is scanning these QR codes. No one outside of it is. I only need the flyers at the open house, right? And so now you saved yourself a bunch of work and a bunch of printing and all the stuff that comes with it, right? And so a lot of people think the AI is only useful for adding things. I find it's very useful for subtracting based on the data as well. Like I'm very much an eliminator. Like if I don't have to do it, get gone. I don't want to do it. And so like that's one of the key things is having the ability to get better data. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Oh, see, it even made a little spreadsheet for me. Look at that. So, and so now it's saying like, this is a tool that I've built for you to go test. And if I had a need for this, I would go test it. I actually might do something with this, but if I had a need for it, I would go test it and I would see, okay, does this work? Does it not work? What works? What doesn't work? And then what I can do is, after I have data in that, I can just upload the spreadsheet back into the AI and be like, hey, I've got data now. What do we do next? Interview me, let's find out. And it could say like, hey, remember when I said that your leads were light and we needed more data to make sure you weren't converting well? Great, well, we found the data. You're not converting well, like this is what we need to change. Or, hey, you are actually converting better than we thought. You just didn't do X, Y, you just weren't tracking it, or like whatever the case is. And so that's really where it's at. And so that's a little useful spreadsheet tool that's going to basically figure out our funnel stages, right? And so if we fill this in manually, these are the stages of our funnel. And so that should give us better insight to, are we getting views to inquiries? Are we going inquiries to showing? Like where in the funnel are we losing people? Like as an example, there was a tactical defense company in Brentwood that I was like, oh, this would be fun. I would go do this. And their funnel was an interview process, which is fine. So I did that. And then I basically had to do the whole interview process again to actually book the booking link. And I was like, that's just so inefficient. I'll just go in person now, right? And so they lost me out of the funnel because they had me collect all this information and then they wanted me to do it again. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that, right? And so now it's 50-50 whether I actually go in there or not, right? Whereas if they would have had a streamlined funnel, I would have gone from there to booking a date, to I would be scheduled for a class at this point, right? But that's where the funnel leaks. And so it's very, very, and like you start to see it when you do this stuff, you start to see it in your own daily life too. Like, oh, this is really good. I can take this. Or, oh, this is terrible. I want to make sure I'm not making these mistakes, right? And so that's one of the key ways that I use AI to just audit my business is, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is my constraint. This is help me out. And then I just have it keep interviewing me. I keep giving it more details. And like I said, usually eventually it ends up with something that is at minimum a first step. And that's where a lot of people kind of struggle, is getting to what is the next actionable step, right? Like, I have all these problems, but they're big problems and I can't break them down small enough so that I can go, okay, I'm now one step closer to solving it, right? And that's what the AI is really, really useful for, especially for building landing pages, which most real estate people just don't have the technical capacity to do, right? Now you can, as long as you understand what a good landing page looks like. And so that's something else that I always tell people is, you're always intaking data as well. So if you go to a website and you're like, this experience was really clean, this was really good, save that link somewhere so that you can give it to your AI to go and take the features from it, right? Like, at this point, from what I've heard, the moat in Silicon Valley used to be if you have a really good technology, that provided you about 6 months of no one being able to copy it. We're at a place where we're at about 2 weeks or less for a technological moat, right? And so right now it's just, do you understand your business and do you understand what is appealing to your customers, right? Because the taste that you have for website style stuff like that might be great, but it might not be attracting your customers. So it might be a situation where you're like, oh, this person's getting all the customers I want. Let's go have the AI audit their site and pull from that, right? And that's something that you can do, is you can find whoever you think is optimal in your space or performing well in your space or whatever it is, and say, go basically make a clone of this website, give me the SEO, give me all the things that website is generating for them, and help me implement it. Oftentimes it won't implement quite as well because there are things that they know that they're not sharing, stuff like that, right? But as long as you can get a baseline, you can just keep iterating forward, and eventually you have something really useful. Like, if I were to go look at my old projects, I would be so embarrassed, if I could see before I did all the updates and whatever, right? And that's good, because if I wasn't, I would be failing. Because if I am looking at things from a year ago and being like, yeah, nailed it, I'm not getting better at this point. And that's not to say the elite of the elite can do that. I'm not there. So I'm like, okay, gotta get better, right? And so if I'm not looking at that stuff and being like, ooh, gross, there's a problem. And I feel like that's the way a majority of people should feel about their creations when you go into a new space. But yeah, that's kind of it. It's just interview it, try to get to that starting of the loop, and then just enter the loop and say, I'm working on my finances today. What do I do? I'm working on customer retention. I'm working on making sure I get more referrals after the sale. Whatever it is that you want to work on, just enter a kind of an interview loop and just analyze your business, understand your context, and I would say 9 times out of 10, that'll get you much, much farther, understanding your business than just understanding the AI. And understanding how you can help your customers. Because that's the thing that the AI doesn't get. When a client goes to an AI, 9 times out of 10, they're not asking for citations. They're not using industry best practices. They're not approaching it with any reasonable context. They're approaching it with, well, how much is my house worth? Okay, well, the ChatGPT is going to potentially find a lot of things that could give you bad information. And that, again, goes back to my personal belief is intervene as early as you can with the AI. The second you can bring it up, the better. Because even if they're not going to use it, great, that's fine. If they say, hey, we're just going to have AI sit this one out. I'm a private person. I don't want to do it. Okay, great. We don't have to use AI. Cool. But now at least they know that you understand it, you've approached the subject, and that you're comfortable with however they want to manage it using AI. Because honestly, I think one of the worst things that can happen to a real estate agent right now is they say, hey, I got this from ChatGPT. Because it's such a fight immediately thereafter. The answer hardens in their mind. Like, it's just the biggest nightmare if you're not like, hey, but where did ChatGPT get the information? Right? That's the best question to ask when someone brings you ChatGPT and you're like, this is crap. Where did ChatGPT get this information? Okay, great. Here, let's talk about how we do citations, how we do linking, how we audit the quality, all that kind of stuff. And then now you're right back to a position of I understand AI. I'm the authority in moving from A to B, right? Because the second you're not the authority, they're looking elsewhere for authority. Everybody does. Everybody's looking for whenever someone doesn't know anything, I think just humans psychologically, they start to feel inadequate and they look for someone to know it so that they can be like, I know it because he knows it, right? And that's kind of the thing that makes it easy is if you position yourself as an authority because you've done the preparation to understand how to use an AI to help this transaction and also how to prevent the AI from going super rogue on them. Because that's something that, because they're not, most people aren't doing classes like this and stuff like that, so they don't even know that the AI is like, oh yeah, the AI is an aggressive liar. What? It's not 100% true? They don't, they don't audit that? No, that's your job. And so most people, it's just like they want the intelligence to be, they want so badly for the intelligence to be right that they're willing to put way too much faith in it. So.
And it's a default in our brain. I saw it on the computer. I read it in a book.
Yep.
I saw it on the news. I think it's true.
Yep.
You're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Just thinking about AI in that OODA loop format is very different than, and it's, I've been to most of these classes.
Yeah.
And the OODA loop, I feel like, is finally starting to kind of.
Yep.
It's almost genius to me because I can take it into all these other classes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things I really look for is where, because life is mostly pattern matching, right? If you are decent at pattern matching, you can do a lot of things. And you can solve a lot of problems because they present themselves just in different clothing. And if you can see the foundational pattern of hey, the OODA loop allows me to iterate through almost any problem solving cycle, that's where you start to really unlock it.
Well, and then it changes my mindset in that this is not Google. I'm putting this into a system where I OODA loop it. There's a process for that. It's not, I'm gonna spend 15 minutes and figure this out because I'm working with a super intelligence.
Yep.
And then when it doesn't happen like that, I get pissed and walk away.
Yep.
And then maybe come back to it later that afternoon. Maybe not.
Right. Yep. 100%. 100%.
But if I know that I'm sitting down, this is a OODA loop process that's about to happen, then it doesn't have to be worked out in 15 minutes. I can come back to it.
Yep.
This is just part of what we're doing. That in my head sits so much better than let me force this square peg through a round hole and it's not going to work anything.
Right.
Get anything out of it, for the most part.
That's the best feedback I've gotten on this class because that's exactly what I'm shooting for. That's perfect. That's awesome. I love that so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, nail it.
But it's finally starting to sink in.
That's perfect. Hey, it took me 2.5 years, so you're well ahead of me.
Okay, I have a couple probably dumb questions.
Perfect.
Whisper Flow.
Mm-hmm.
That is just the app that you're speaking in?
Yeah, that's a dictation app, basically. Yep.
Okay. And then, so if I want to watch this video today,
Mhm.
and I want to see your slideshow
Yep.
at the same time, how do I access those two things?
I will send the updated links because I keep a link list of every class. And so I'll send a link. I think we've got 6 or 7 of them now. And so each one is its own siloed experience. And yeah, and we can send those out to the whole team. And
yeah, I would love to have them because I get confused.
Mm-hmm.
what, because like I sent the AI discoverable.
Yeah.
If you send, but like, I wanna look at the AI discoverable slides and your.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying?
No, 100%. Yeah, yeah, and that's it, they're all set up that way, and I'm actually building workbooks as well, so it's got like questions and the sample prompts and all the stuff right on the page.
Okay. My problem is I don't really know where to go to get it.
Yeah,
I don't know. So you're gonna send it to me?
yeah, I'll send it.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll have everything all in one place, and I might even try to put it on to like a landing page,
Yeah,
basically.
do a landing
Yeah,
page.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'll send it to you, and you send me a landing page back. That's it.
No, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, I so enjoy my time with you.
Oh, I love this. This is so
Lots
much
and lots
fun.
and lots of
Yeah.
questions, so thank you for continuing to do it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is great. I love it. This is so much fun. I enjoy it. I could talk about this stuff all day. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, very cool.
So I know you're doing the recordings and stuff, but what is it that we can do to help your business? What it is that you
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, for you guys, the most, because like whatever I sell, you guys will get for free. So there's no point in like a paid anything. So for you guys, the most valuable stuff would probably be like just sharing social clips or like just stuff like that. That's like a more of an awareness type thing rather than like a paid conversion type stuff. Because yeah, I'm like honestly, if you ever want anything, you're like, hey, can you help me with something? I'm just going to help you. Like because like I appreciate the people who come to these classes, and it's going to be a lot less effort to help you than it will almost anyone else, right? Because you're here, you understand the way my brain works, like you get it, right? And so like the people that are here, I'm trying to help as best I can because I appreciate the effort of the people coming. And so like for yeah, I would say just like kind of social content and like if because I'll have all my socials on those pages, and so like honestly, the nicest thing to do would just be to click like literally any social, click like, and then just you do go about your day. Like that's the best thing is like between commenting and off-platform share. So social media highly values, and this is good for people to know just in general. Social media highly values when you share things off platform, meaning I share it and I send a link to someone in a text. And the reason they like that is because you're taking it away from the platform and bringing someone back onto the platform. And so, like when I share, send a link, it values that as very high signal because I like this enough to send it to someone completely not in Instagram. I liked it enough to send them a link to an Instagram post that they're going to have to click on their phone, and it will open Instagram on their phone and see it, right? And so like that's something algorithmically the social media, and it makes sense, right? Because you're doing the the bulk of the work to get the person to their social media platform, right? It's like if I were to go to Aldi's and I would just like walk into the parking lot and just like grab people by the hand and bring them into the store, right? That's kind of what socials do. So if you're ever looking for, like, if someone's like, oh, how can I help with socials? Tell them off platform share, like share this to some friends, family. And then the other thing, I always ask people if you start watching like a 20-second video or whatever, watch to the end, because watch time is another one of those things where like if people click on it, they start watching it, they like it, and then they click off. It's actually detrimental to the algorithm because they're like, oh, they liked it. They only watched 2 seconds and then they bounce, so they must not have liked it that much, right? And so I always ask people like try to watch at least 10 seconds and then just you do whatever you want. But that's so if like, and if you're coaching people on like how socials, I always coach off platform traffic to the social media, and then thinking about watch time and engagement as the two primary metrics for video.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thought I had while you were talking about that was, just, I mean, AI comes up so much that, like in our little networking group, there's probably 6 or 8 of us that I don't know how that could benefit you, but we talk about AI amongst ourselves. Some use it, some aren't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a mixed group, but there's a lot of different industries in there.
Right.
Might be helpful to at least everyone in the networking group. I don't know how beneficial it could be for you, but
Right.
spend 20 minutes and go through what it is you do or a little bit of this.
Yeah, 100%.
And then just kind of help them, and then
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
how would that translate into putting dollars into your pocket?
Yeah, I mean, it could be implementation. It could be, so like there are some people that are like, hey, I love what you're doing. I'd like to do like a whole marketing funnel around that. Or I like what you're doing. Like I have some people that just want me to do like basically tutoring. Like I'm like basically, hey, what is the problem that you're having in your business? Like let's go through it and like kind of, and it kind of is the same class that I taught here today. It's like, what's your problem? I will teach you like a framework that you can use to solve this problem and all the other problems. And like sometimes they're like, okay, great, that framework solved the one problem. This problem's a little trickier. I'd like more help on this one or whatever it is, right? And so that like it's one of those things that I never want to be the person that a business becomes dependent on, just because like that's the goal for most people in my position, but I never want to be that person because eventually everyone's going to become competent in this thing anyway, right? Like AI is designed for it to be used by as many people as possible, as intelligently as possible. And so like I said, I think eventually it's going to be a situation where it's like, okay, like I'm not super needed, but the companies that act early, I think are going to get such a head start that by the time I'm not needed, the companies who use my services are going to be like ahead of the companies that didn't. And they'll understand how to manipulate the technology a little bit more to get the most out of it, to get the maximum output. But yeah, I mean, we do implementation, education, and then just like spec work, like one-off stuff as well. Yeah.
Let me keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely.
See where that goes.
Oh, and I do like whatever business is brought to me across the board, I give 10% referral fee because I would rather pay a person than pay for ads. So that's what I do. Yeah. So as of right now, I'm going very low ads. Like I'm decent at ads. Like I'm okay at running ads. So I'm trying to do it a completely different strategy for this business because of one, I think referral business is much stronger. Two, I think I found a way to pay people for referring business. So that's what I want to do instead of paying it to Meta. So that's my plan for now anyway. But
Well, thank you.
yeah. Yeah. So cool. Well, awesome. I appreciate you guys. This is so much fun. Yeah.